Welcome to this episode of the $1 Million Mastermind. I'm Larry Weidel, and before we get started, if you want to know exactly how to win again and again, go to weidelonwinning.com/webinar now to watch something I've put together for you. Now let's get going into this episode of $1 Million Mastermind. I'm here talking with Justin Croxton, CEO and founder of Propellant Media, one of the fastest growing companies in the country, according to Inc. magazine. And they're in the highly competitive digital advertising technical business. And they're learning how to differentiate themselves and win. And Justin, talk about how your week goes. What is a week? Is there a flow to your week? Because we talked earlier about thinking strategic, studying, which leads to having a method to your madness and organize your approach. And so how do you organize all of the, you'd also talked about strategy, execution, cash flow, your people, all of those things. There's a lot of things you have to juggle when you're in business. And so what does your week look like?
So, I realized that, in business that I won't say realize that I always knew that my family was more important, but balance with your family is incredibly important. And I'd say for many years, I was really struggling being able to wake up early in the morning to exercise, be able to take care of myself, have my own sense of like, this is my time type of thing. And you could work out in the afternoons, but I need to get myself another hour or so I can be successful and not be thinking about how am I taking care of my own self, my own weight and my own health now that I'm going into my 40s in the next couple of years. And so now every day I wake up at about 5 to 5:15, usually doing some form of exercise, usually done by about 6:30, showering, all that good stuff. And getting my son ready for school, typically, getting a little bit of time with my wife, and at that point she's typically off to work doing her thing, I'm doing my thing, and then when I get to the office, or if I have to work from home due to COVID, usually my day involves client interfacing, thinking strategically, and meeting with our leadership team on what we got going for that week, typically, or any planning sessions that we need to do for the full month. We're looking at invoicing, cash flows, what's coming in, what's going out, new business development opportunities, individual partnerships that we're going after, just big picture things that me as a CEO has to think through to ensure the growth of our company, because it's not a perfect structure. It's not like we're a 500 person company. And so, there's still a sense of like certain things that I still do, part because I'm enjoying it, but also because, I think it's necessary to the growth of the company. But normally, my day, I'm usually done with work by 5:30 at the latest. And then I usually block out a good, 4 to 5 hours between both my wife as well as my son. Just pure quality time with them, and usually in bed by about 11:30, 12 usually. And then I sort of rinse and repeat. And then usually on the weekends, I don't do as much work either, just push a couple of emails from time to time. But that's really what my week looks like. And I can't tell enough to those. There's a lot of folks out there that aren't morning people. I get that. But if there is a way for you to get yourself more time and really just spend at least 30 minutes a day focusing on your own health, whether it's a walk in your neighborhood or, some other form of exercise, it's going to make I'm committed, not committed. I believe that it's only going to be a bigger benefit habitually for myself as I get into my 50s and 60s. And so
what's different about now when you kick off the week, you kick off a month? I've always believed in kicking off the week, the month with a bang, and what's the difference now with how you kick off a week at this point versus what you did in the beginning when you started.
This may sound, I mean, this may sound funny, but it really is waking up at 5:15 for me to exercise. For me, I look at it as an accomplishment because it was so hard. Just like the public speaking, it was so hard for me to do it at first. I literally would have my alarm set for 5:30 and I would hit it every single time. I just could not get myself out of bed. I just couldn't do it. And then I just started to kind of get present to, the things that were more important in my life, being able to spend more time with my family, and those kind of things. And so, when I know that, like on a Monday, that I'm able to, kick the day off with a good exercise and then like have my emails cleared even before anyone else has woken up, is huge. And it's a feeling of accomplishment. And so knowing that I was able to do that, and then I can do it again on Tuesday and then Wednesday and then Thursday and then Friday, it's like, okay, I really killed it this week. I exercised, I did this, I worked on these aspects of the company. I was able to spend incredible quality time with my family. We went to the park. We, went out to dinner together. I had date night with my wife. That's when I feel that sense of balance is when I feel like, okay, I got kicked off the week well in the morning, waking up and doing all that I did. And I finished the week knowing that I had incredible balance. I think that's sort of the way that I look at it.
And basically staying in control of what you're doing. But what I'm talking about is when you hit the office, what are you doing? What are you looking for? What do your eyes go to?
When I get to the office, let's just say if I get to the office, I'm, put aside looking at emails. Typically the first things that I'm looking at are sort of my schedule on what I got to do that day from a meeting standpoint and planning with our senior leadership here at Propellant Media. That's usually the very first thing that I'm typically doing, just trying to plan that out, not just for that Monday, but also the entire week. So having conversations with them on, what the plans are for the week, what we need to execute on, some big hurdles that we need to be aware of, some partnerships that we're looking out for. That's usually what I'm hitting on when I'm getting to the office, particularly on Mondays, let's say.
Well, what I found was I would either do a big meeting with everybody, or the bulk of the time was spent with one-on-one with the key leaders. Whatever, the people who are going to actually get a lot of the work done. The bigger you get, the more you work through people. Yeah. And there's certain people that are more talented in certain areas. And if you don't carve out time, one thing about being creative is you can't be in a hurry. When you're solving problems and you're coming up with solutions, you got to, like you say, think things through. And you can't do, also, I'm not a big meditator. I'm a big prayer, but not a big meditator where I just try to empty my mind. To me, that's insanity. And so for me to think about an issue, I need somebody to be bouncing it back. It's like we're playing verbal ping pong. We're bouncing ideas around. You have somebody who's pretty knowledgeable of that subject, got a pretty good opinion. A lot of times you have ideas, if you don't say them out loud.
Yeah.
You don't know. The first thing of seeing if an idea is valid is talk about it out loud, tell somebody about it, and then see what kind of feedback comes from them. And then you start to unravel it. It's like you've been doing the videos, you got to throw it out there at someplace and then get the feedback. So as you're going through the days now, how many key people do you have?
We're about 25 to 30.
And how many direct to you?
About 5.
Yeah,
5,
there you go.
Yeah.
Most great revolutions are run with, like very few people at the core, and like if you have, and that's the way it's got to be, because there's so many moving parts in it. Who are the 5 people? What are the jobs that these people do?
Yeah, a couple of them are actual partners. We have a chief operating officer. We have a VP of client services. We have a creative director, and that's about it. I mean, I sort of act as the de facto CMO and also CEO of the company until that expands and we actually need to offshoot that part, that functionality within the organization. But those are the folks that primarily report. Also, our sort of finance manager, but those are sort of the key folks that are reporting directly to myself, and I have those conversations with.
How does a company get recognized by Inc. magazine in the way that you have?
Well, they look at your revenue growth over the last 3 years. So that's the first, you got to look at, okay, yeah, I think we actually grew quite a bit. And then honestly, it's really just looking at different platforms like the Inc. or, Financial Times. Like we were number 8 on the Financial Times list out of 500. And the only way that you find that out is just by like researching it and saying, okay, I'm going to apply. And it costs like $500 or so to apply, but it's well worth it. The recognition is certainly well worth it as well.
Hey, listen, there's a lot of information online, but there aren't a lot of people who've actually done something. In my case, I've actually built a successful business that's accrued over $5 billion in assets under management and has done well even during trying times. Now, if you want to know exactly how I've done this, go to whitelmwinning.com/webinar now. I've compressed a decade of learning into 5 short weeks just for those of you who want to give yourself an incredible advantage and are tired of waiting and watching others move up.
And so how many of those agencies, publications, or whatever do you track your company in?
I'd say maybe like 3, maybe 4, not a lot. There's only a couple. It's just to like, when we're doing a pitch and someone sees it, they're like, oh, okay, just a checkbox. And some of it is like, wow, that's really impressive. But other times it's like just more getting the box checked. So someone knows that we are serious and they don't have their concerns like, oh, this is a small company who can't do the job for me kind of thing.
If everything went perfect for you for the next year, what would happen?
We would have a fully built out outbound sales function. What does
that mean?
We would have a team of 3 to 5 people that's doing nothing but outbound sales for the company, meaning they're not only relying on inbound leads that come to us, but they're actually strategically doing some level of account-based selling and targeting individual accounts within our key verticals that we are successful in.
So in other words, not only would you be dealing with incoming inquiries, you would have a group that was generating significant volume that was on the attack, creating those leads and creating those sales. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes.
And the advantage of that is that it gives you more sales and makes you not dependent on the other side, right?
That's exactly it. We want to have a place where we can have more control in sort of our pipeline. And that's one of the key ways that you can have more control, bottom line.
One of the things that, I heard this phrase from my friend Josh Huffman many years ago, but he talked about their primary offensive prospecting strategy or game plan. And it was like, it was just so perfect to have that identified, that every company, everybody's in business needs to know what is the primary thing they're going to get behind to make sure they've got new clients coming in. And referrals are great, that people just call you up, but it's really better if you have something where you can go, you can survive by being on the offensive yourself. If nobody calls in, you still can go out there and get them.
Right.
And that gives you a great confidence, and to know, most time you'll have several things you're experimenting with to try and see if this will work or that will work. But to have one go-to strategy is really key if you're going to have a growing company, wouldn't you say?
It is. And I'll take it a step further. You need to have multiple recurring strategies for client acquisition. So for us, we have a referral plan. We have, a plan within our company where we actually work with a lot of other agencies that want to white label our services on top of our direct channel as well. We get a ton of inbound leads. We also get opportunities to speak at different conferences. And so that's another business customer acquisition strategy. And then we're really focused on fine tuning our outbound sales approach as well. And so you can't put all your eggs in one basket. You got to, keep thinking about the recurring model that you build for your own company so that, you're not simply relying on referrals. Unless you're like a big consulting firm, that's hard. It's tough to know where the revenue is going to be coming from.
Yeah. And the thing is, even the big guy, the big guys crumble, because they don't do this stuff. They kind of assume they've got it made and live off their name and client base. And eventually the market shifts like a glacier shifts and they fall off and fall into the ocean and die, and so it's better to be hungry and lean and control that yourself. The other way you do that is you keep your stinking eyes open. Like, the great advantage of going and speaking at a conference or things like that is also you're mingling with people from other areas and you hear things, you just gotta listen, and you hear phrases and like, oh yeah, I should be doing that,
Yeah.
Geofencing. What?
Got to be willing to try new things. Got to be.
Got to pay attention because if other people are doing it, you can do it. And people are changing fast now. And so what worked last year, especially in the internet, the digital era, what worked in the past is not necessarily going to be working in the future because everybody's going to be doing it, so then you got to have a little shift to your strategy. And you do that by paying attention and following leaders. And what I've always had great success by copying what the people at the top are doing, somehow, whatever they're doing, for some reason it works. And if it works for them, a great idea doesn't care who has it, and doesn't care who uses it. So the people that are using the great ideas are the people that are having the big success. So, a lot of this stuff is pretty simple if you just let yourself think about it and pay attention to the right things. Is there a final word, Justin, that you want to pass on to other entrepreneurs and other companies on the way up? Because I know you're dealing with lots of companies right now, and you see a lot of things that people are doing right and a lot of things are doing wrong. Do you have kind of a final word you'd like to pass on to people if they really want their business and their career to be great?
Yeah, the first thing I'll say is, like my mom said, scared money don't make money. So you have to be willing to take the risk. You took the risk on the business, so you got to take risks in other areas of the business. And that includes marketing. You may not know marketing, you may not understand it, but you have to. And if you want to build a sustainable business where you're not solely relying on referrals, that's how you do it. You just have to do it. And I forget the name of the book, but just always think about your business in those 4 different areas. That's really important for startups and just any business in general, even the large ones that are out there. Your people, strategy, execution, and cash flow. If you think about those 4 areas of your business, you'll consistently work to hit on those areas that will grow your company ultimately. And then just don't lose sight of the things that are important to you, like balancing your life, taking care of your health, even if it's 30 minutes a day walking, whatever, you got to do something, spending the quality time with your family. Those things really do matter. And I just know a lot of people that just are workaholics. They, work, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. They don't get the chance to see their kids. And, by the time you're older, you're like, oh man, all the time that went by, I certainly just don't want to have that. And, you may have all the money, but the memories are more valuable than that. And so those are the three things that I'd leave for everyone that's listening.
Yeah. And what that is you got to run your life rather than let your life run you. And you got to run your business rather than let your business run you. And certain times you reach crisis points where, it's all hands on deck 24/7. And, but you can't live your whole life that way,
No, yeah, you definitely can't.
And you've got to have, the thing about it is, Justin, you've got to have a game plan for stability and continuity so that you have some reserves, so that when a crisis comes, maybe you get a chance to merge or to take over another company that will dramatically multiply the growth of your business, change the whole dynamic. But that might mean for a month or two, you're going to be working around the clock to pull that merger off. I've seen that happen on Wall Street all the time.
Absolutely.
But if you're basically not in control of your life when those opportunities come, you're not going to have those reserves because you'll already be stretched thin.
You're already stretched thin. I mean, you're going to have moments where like 3 weeks or so, like I have to work from this time to this time, and that's going to happen as long as you always think about balance, and where that balance needs to come in. And that's really the piece that I felt was important for folks to get,
it's no more complicated than rebooting your computer, rebooting your phone. At times it's just too much in there and you just have to reboot. And so if, those timeouts, I find the same thing. I started journaling a couple years ago. And when I start off the day, I've already got it planned out what I'm going to be focusing on and thinking about. And, because it's kind of like sales. You're doomed in sales if you start the week and you don't know who you're going to go see.
Yeah.
It's too late. It's too late to plan the week on Monday. And
right.
So it's the same thing with starting the day. You want to be able to start and have things so where while you're waking up and your mind is coming online, you've already got things laid out that you're going to be looking at that
right.
You're giving yourself a head start,
Yeah.
And then doing that early in the morning gives you a head start on the day. And head starts are advantages that pretty much always help you win.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely.
Thanks so much, Justin. Great conversation. Looking forward to seeing your agency continue to climb the charts up in the top 25, top 50, and number 1 down the road. Thank you.
Great conversation, Larry. Thanks so much. Really enjoyed this.
If you enjoyed what you've heard and are dead serious about finding out for yourself exactly how this works in the real world, I've taken the most valuable business lessons I've learned over 40 years and put them into something for you to watch. Go to whiteelementing.com/webinar now in order to move up as fast as possible. I'm Larry Weidel, and I run the $1 Million Mastermind. Go, go, go.